Shalom, shalom. Welcome to the confluence of YHWHY, YHWHY, or YHWHY.com. We thank you for joining us this morning. We are looking at the Torah Parashah of Vayetz, and the reading is for the 10th of Kislev of the year 5777, or December 10th of 2016. We will be looking through Bereshiyth, or Genesis chapter 28, verse 10, where we left off last week. And we are going to continue to the third verse of chapter 32. So hold on to your seats and get your Torahs out, get your scriptures out, get your word studies out, and get ready to hear His word and obey. The Torah portion, Vayetz. Bereshiyth, chapter 28, verse 10. And Jacob went out from Beersheba, and went towards Haran. And he came upon a place and stopped over for the night, for the sun had set. And he took one of the stones of that place, and he put it at his head. And he lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed, and saw a ladder set up on the earth, and its top reached to the heavens, the Shamayim, and saw Melekim, messengers of Elohim, going up and coming down on it. And see, YHWH stood above it, and said, I am YHWH, your Elohim, of Abraham your father, and the Elohim of Yitzhak. The land on which you are laying, I give it to you and your seed. And your seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and you shall break forth to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. And all the clans of the earth shall be blessed in you and your seed. And see, I am with you, and I shall guard you wherever you go. And I shall bring you back to this land. For I am not going to leave you until I have done what I have spoken to you. And Jacob awoke from his sleep, and said, Truly YHWH is in this place, and I did not even know it. And he was afraid, and said, How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of Elohim, and this is the gate of the heavens, the Shamayim. And Jacob rose early in the morning, and took the stone that he had put at his head, set it up as a standing column, and poured oil on the top of it. And he called the name of that place Beth El, house of El. However, the name of that city had been Luz previously. And Jacob made a vow, saying, Seeing Elohim is with me, and has kept me in this way that I am going, and has given me bread to eat, and a garment to put on, when I have returned to my father's house in Shalom, and YHWH has been my Elohim, then this stone which I have set as a standing column shall be Elohim's house, and of all that you give me I shall certainly give a 10th tithe unto you. Vayetz, Bereshiyth 29, Genesis 29. And Jacob moved on and came to the land of the people of the east. And he looked and saw a well in the field, and saw 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well they watered the flocks, and a large stone on the well's mouth, and all the flocks would be gathered there. Then they would roll the stone from the well's mouth, and water the sheep, and put the stone back in its place on the well's mouth. So Jacob said to them, My brothers, where are you from? And they said, We are from Haran. And he said to them, Do you know Laban, son of Nahor? And they said, We know him. So he said to them, Is he well? And they said, Well. And see, his daughter Rachel is coming with the sheep. And he said, See, it is still high day, not the time for the livestock to be gathered together. Water the sheep, and go and feed them. But they said, We are not allowed until all the flock gathered together. And they have rolled the stone from the well's mouth, then we water the sheep. While he was still speaking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she was the sheep herdess. And it came to be, when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban his mother's brother, that Jacob went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the flock of Laban his mother's brother. And Jacob kissed Rachel, and lifted up his voice and wept. And when Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's relative, and that he was Ribka's son, she ran and told her father. And it came to be, when Laban heard the report about Jacob's sister's son, that he ran to meet them, and embraced him, and kissed him, and brought him to his house. Then he told Laban all these matters. And Laban said to him, You are indeed my bone and flesh. And he stayed with him for a new moon, Rosh Chodesh. Then Laban said to Yaakov, Because you are my relative, should you therefore serve me for nothingness? Let me know, what should your wages be? And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. And Leah's eyes were weak, but Rachel was beautiful of form and beautiful of appearance, and Jacob loved Rachel. So he said, Let me serve you 7 years for Rachel, your youngest daughter. And Laban said, It is better that I give her to you than that I should give her to another man. Stay with me. So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed to him but a few days, but of the love he had for her. And Jacob said to Laban, Give me my wife, for my days are completed, and let me go into her. And Laban gathered all the men of the place, and made a great feast. And it came to be in the evening that he took Leah his daughter, and brought her to Jacob. And he went in to her, And Laban gave his female servant Zilpah to his daughter Leah as a female servant. And in the morning it came to be that, see, it was Leah. So he said to Laban, "What is this that you have done to me? Was it not for Rachel that I served you? Why then have you deceived me?" And Laban said, "It is not done this way in our place, to give the youngest before the firstborn. Complete the week of one, then we give you this one too, for the service which you shall serve with me still another 7 years. And Jacob did so, and completed her week. Then he gave to his daughter Rachel too as his wife. And Laban gave the female servants Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as a female servant. And he also went into Rachel, and he also loved Rachel more than Leah, and he served with Laban still another 7 years. And YHWH saw that Leah was unloved, and her womb opened, but Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Reuben. For she said, "For Yahweh has looked on my affliction, because now my husband is going to love me." And she conceived again, and bore a son, and said, "Because Yahweh has heard that I am unloved, he gave me this son too." And she called his name Simeon. And she conceived again, and bore a son, and said, "Now this time my husband is joined to me, because I have borne him 3 sons. So his name was called Lavi." And she conceived again, and bore a son, and said, "Now I Baruch Yahweh. Now I praise Yahweh." So she called his name Yahudah. And she ceased bearing. Vayetz, Bereshiyth chapter 30. And when Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister, and said to Jacob, "Give me children, or else I am going to die." And Jacob's displeasure burned against Rachel, and he said, "Am I in the place of Elohim, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb?" And she said, "See my female servant Bilhah. Go into her, and let her bear for me, and let me be built up from her as well." So she gave him Bilhah, her female servant, as a wife. And Jacob went into her, and Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. And Rachel said, "Elohim has rightly ruled my case, and has also heard my voice, and given me a son." So she called his name Dan. And Rachel's female servant Bilhah conceived again, and bore Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, "With great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and I have overcome." So she called his name Naphtali. Naphtali. And Leah saw that she had ceased bearing, and she took Zilpah, her female servant, and gave her to Yaakov as wife. And Leah's female servant Zilpah bore Yaakov a son. And Leah said, "Fortune comes." So she called his name Gad. And Leah's female servant Zilpah bore Yaakov a second son, and Leah said, "I am happy, for all the daughters shall call me happy." So she called his name Asher. And Reuben went in the days of the wheat harvest, and found love apples in the field, and brought them to his mother Leah. And Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's love apples." But she said to her, "It is a small matter that you have taken away my husband. Would you have taken away my son's love apples too?" And Rachel said, "Therefore let him lie with you tonight for your son's love apples." And when Jacob came out of the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, "Do you come in to me? For indeed I have hired you with my son's love apples." And he lay with her that night. And Elohim listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son. And Leah said, "Elohim has given me my hire, because I have given my female servants to my husband." So she called his name Yisachar. And Leah conceived again and bore Jacob a sixth son. And Leah said, "Elohim has presented me with a good present, Tov. Now my husband is going to dwell with me, because I have bore him 6 sons." So she called his name Zebulun. Then afterwards she bore a daughter, and her name she called Dinah. And Elohim remembered Rachel, and Elohim listened to her and opened up her womb. And she conceived and bore a son, and said, "Elohim has taken away my reproach." So she called his name Yehoseph, and said, "YHWH has added me to another son." And it came to be, when Rachel had borne Yosef, that Yaakov said to Laban, "Send me on my way, to go to my own place and to my land. Give me my wives and my children for whom I have served you, and let me go, for you yourself know my service which I have done for you." And Laban said to him, "If I have found favor in your eyes, please stay, for I have diligently watched what YHWH has blessed me for your sake." And he said, "Name me your wages, and I will give it." So he said to him, "You know how I have served you, and how your livestock has been with me. For a little you have before I came has greatly increased, and Yahweh has blessed you since my coming. But now I am to provide for my own house too." And he said, What do I give you?" And Jacob said, "Give me not, if you do this for me, I shall again feed and guard your flocks. Let me pass through all your flocks today, removing from there all the speckled and spotted sheep, and all the black ones among them, and the spotted and the speckled among the goats. And these shall be my wages. And my righteousness shall answer for me in time to come, Zadokness. When you come concerning my wages, every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and black among the lambs, it is stolen if it is with me. And Laban said, See, let it be according to your word. And on that day he set aside the male goats that were speckled and spotted, and all the female goats that were speckled and spotted. Every one had some white in it, and all of the black ones among the lambs, and gave them into the hand of his sons. And he put 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob, and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. And Jacob took for himself rods of green poplar, and of the almond and the chestnut trees, peeled white strips in them, and exposed the white which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had peeled before the flocks in the gutters, in the watering troughs, where the flocks came to drink, and they conceived, and they came to drink. So the flocks conceived before the rods, and the flocks before forth streaked, speckled, and spotted. And Jacob separated the lambs, and made the flocks face towards the streaked, and all the black in the flock of Laban. But he put his own flocks by themselves, and did not put them with Laban's flocks. And it came to be, whenever the strong ones of the flock conceived, that Jacob placed the rods before the eyes of the flock in the gutters, so they would conceive among the rods. But when the flock were weak, he did not put them in. So the weak ones were Laban's, and the strong ones were Jacob's. Thus the man increased very much, and had many flocks, and female and male servants, and camels, and donkeys. Vayetz. Bereshiyth 31. Genesis 31. And he heard the words of Laban's sons, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and from what belonged to our father he has made all this wealth. And Jacob would look at the face of Laban, and see that it was not towards him as before. And YHWH said to Jacob, Return to the land of your fathers, and to your relatives, and I am with you. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field to his flock, and said to them, I see your father's face, that it is not towards me as before, but the Elohim of my father has been with me. And you know that I have served your father with all my strength. Yet your father has deceived me, and changed my wages 10 times, but Elohim did not allow him to do evil to me. When he said this, the speckled are your wages. Then all the flocks bore speckled. And when he said this, the streaks are your wages. And all the flocks bore streaked. So Elohim has taken away the livestock of your father and given them to me. And it came to be at the time when the flocks conceived, that I lifted my eyes and looked in a dream, and saw the rams which leaped upon the flocks were streaked, speckled, and mottled. And the Melachim, the messenger of Elohim, spoke to me in a dream, saying, Jacob, and I said, Hineni, here am I. And he said, lift your eyes now and see. All the rams which leap on the flocks are streaked, speckled, and mottled. For I have seen all that Laban is doing to you. I am the El of Bet-El, where you anointed at the standing column, and where you made a vow to me. Now rise up, get out of this land, and return to the land of your relatives. And Rachel and Leah answered and said to him, do we still have any portion or inheritance in our father's house? Are we not reckoned by him as strangers? For he has sold us and also entirely consumed our silver. For all the wealth which Elohim has taken from our father is ours and our children's. Now then, do whatever Elohim has told you. So Jacob rose and put his sons and his wives on camels, and he drove off all his livestock and all his possessions which he had acquired, his property of the livestock which he had acquired in Padam Aram, to go to his father Yitzhak in the land of Canaan. And when Laban had gone to shear his sheep, Rachel stole the house idols that were her father's, and Jacob deceived Laban to Armenian, because he did not inform him that he was about to flee. And he fled with all that he had. And he rose up and passed over the river, and headed towards the mountain of Gilead. And on the third day Laban was told that Jacob had fled. Then he took his brothers with him, and pursued him for 7 days' journey. And he overtook him in the mountains of Gilead. But in a dream by night Elohim came to Laban the Aramean, and said to him, guard yourself, that you do not speak to Jacob either good or evil. Then Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mountains, and Laban with his brothers pitched in the mountains of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, what have you done, that you have deceived me, and driven my daughters off like captives taken with the sword? Why did you flee secretly and deceive me, and not inform me, and I would have sent you away with joy and songs, with tambourines and lyre. And you did not allow me to kiss my sons and my daughters. Now you have been foolish to do this. It is in the power of my hand to do evil to you, But the Elohim of your father spoke to me last night, saying, Guard yourself, that you do not speak to Jacob, either good or evil. And now you have gone because you greatly long for your father's house. But why did you steal my mighty ones? And Jacob answered and said to Laban, Because I was afraid. For I said, Lest you tear your daughters away from me. With whomever you find your mighty ones, do not let him live in the presence of our brothers. See for yourself what is with me, and take it with you. For Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. And Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the tents of the 2 female servants, but he did not find them. And he came out of Leah's tent, and entered Rachel's tent. Now Rachel has taken the house idols, and put them in the camel's saddle, and sat on them. And Laban searched all about the tent, but did not find them. And she said to her father, Let it not displease my master, that I am unable to rise before you, for the way of women is with me. And he searched, but did not find the house idols. And Jacob was wroth, and contented with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, What is my transgression? What is my sin, that you have hotly pursued me? Now that you have searched all my goods, what have you found of all your household goods? See, set it here before me, before my brothers and your brothers, and let them decide between the 2 of us. These 20 years I have been with you. Your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried their young, and I have not eaten the rams of your sheep. That which was torn by beasts I did not bring to you. I myself bore the loss of it. You required it from my hand, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was. By day the heat consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sheep fled from my eyes. These 20 years I have been in your house. I have served you 14 years for your daughters, and 6 years for your flock, and you have changed my wages 10 times. Unless the Elohim of my father, the Elohim of Abraham, and the fear of Yitzhak had been with me, you would have sent me away empty-handed. Elohim has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rendered judgment last night. And Laban answered and said to Jacob, These daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and this flock is my flock, and all that you see is mine. But what shall I do today to these, my daughters, or to their children, whom they have borne? And now, come, let us make a covenant, you and I, and it shall be a witness between you and me. So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a standing column. And Jacob said to his brothers, Gather stones. And they took stones and made a heap, and they ate there on the heap. And Laban called it Yeger Sahadutha, but Yaakov called it Galad. And Laban said, "This heap is a witness between you and me today. This is why its name was called Galad." So Mitzpah, because he said, "Let Yahweh watch between you and me when we are out of each other's sight. If you afflict my daughters, or if you take other wives besides my daughters, although no man is with us, see, Elohim is witness between you and me." And Laban said to Yaakov, "See this heap, and see this standing column which I have placed between you and me. This heap is a witness, and this standing column is a witness, that I do not pass beyond this heap to you, and you do not pass beyond this heap and this standing column to me for evil. The Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Nahor, the Elohim of their father, rightly rule between us." And Yaakov swore by the fear of his father Yitzhak. And Yaakov slaughtered a slaughtering on the mountain, and called his brothers to eat. And they ate bread and spent the night on the mountain. And Laban rose up early in the morning, and kissing his sons and daughters, and blessing them, and Laban left and returned to his place. The conclusion of Vayetz, Bereshiyth, chapter 32, up to 2, and Yaakov went on his way, and the Melachim, the messenger of Elohim, met him. And when Yaakov saw them, he said, "This is the camp of Elohim." And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. And Yaakov sent messengers before him to Esau his brother in the land of Seir and the field of Edom. And we will conclude our Torah portions there for the morning. It's been a wonderful morning. I'm sitting at the confluence at Granite Lake Park, and it's been beautiful sunshine, and all of a sudden, woof, I can barely see across the river. So it's just a wonderful time that I've spent with you, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. Please, please subscribe, as well as sharing this to your friends and your family. This is something that everybody needs. As you've listened, it is all about the name. And to keep the commandments is good, but to do them in another name is a futility. So we are restoring His name, YHWH, and who He came as His deliverance, YHWHY, YHWH, the Messiah. So, as you go out into your world, I want you to afflict yourself in the name of Yahweh. For he who He loves, He afflicts. So let them see you to be afflicted, and let it be contagious, and let their affliction come unto salvation. YHWH, Yahweh is salvation. Baruch Hashem. Yivarecha Yahweh v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Yahweh panav elecha v'yihunecha. V'yasam alav tav Yahweh panav elecha. V'yasem lacha shalom. May Yahweh Elohim Tezavot bless you and keep you. May his countenance shine directly upon you and bless you. Shalom.